500 per each additional lady.
Just the cold economics of
Yeah.
the human experience in,
Yes.
in Liberty City, bro.
In 2001, a woman's life is worth $500. That's
Post
it.
9/11 too,
Post
because
that's
this
post
came.
9/11. So you can only imagine what it was like pre 9/11.
Oh my god, dude.
Guys, welcome back to GTA Every Mission. I am Henning Fogg. I'm joined by my co-host Tim Goessling.
Good to be back, bro.
All right, here we are, week two, discussing the illustrious game Grand Theft Auto 3 from 2001. So last week we ran down the first four missions of the game, and we're going to slow it
We're
down
still
ever
we're
so.
still in the tutorial world, I would say.
We are, for all intents and purposes, still in the tutorial. As you pointed out last week many times, we haven't even been given a gun yet. So we're going to change all of that with the very first mission we talk about today. But yeah, we're still kind of getting our feet wet in the crime-riddled hellhole that is Liberty City. And yeah, we're going to start climbing our way through the criminal ranks, starting with a mission called Pump Action Pimp. And this is given to us by Luigi, played by Joey Pantoliano. So we make our way back to Sex Club 7, of course, his strip club that he runs. We are told that some Diablo scumbag has been pumping his scuzzy bitches in Luigi's backyard, and we need to, quote, go and take care of things. Uh, we all know what that means. Go and take care of things. We have some people to murder. It is strongly encouraged we use a gun to do this. And we are introed to a staple of the Grand Theft Auto series, which is a little store by the name of Ammunition. Tim, were
I
you
did think it
super?
was interesting that you get the gun behind ammunition.
Right.
Um,
You are not allowed to purchase it just yet.
yes, so our first introduction to the Grand Theft Auto world of firearms, dude. The
Hmm.
future political nightmare discourse, although not the first. Sex and violence go hand in hand,
That's
and
true.
here we get with our violence, and yeah, I was thrilled. Um, Felt very scuzzy, very criminal focused. I feel like there's a rich history of movies and video games. I'm thinking of, like, Charles Bronson's Death Wish version
Right.
of New York, where your first gun is not given to you legally, it's acquired illicitly. So there was something nice about getting it in the back. I wish there was a person to give it to us and wasn't just floating there by some targets. But
Hmm.
honestly, I was thrilled. I was taken aback by some of the aiming mechanics, but in terms of the story, ready to grow. And
Yeah,
I
no.
ready to go. I also
Narratively,
like that, like, it's like implied that, like, that Luigi knows the people there, and he'll leave something back there for you. The criminal world grows. You know what I
that's a
mean?
good point. I mean, I think we talked last week about the fact that so far these are not the most sort of narratively convoluted missions, nor are they presented that way in the cutscenes that introduce them, where it's like, here's a character, they tell you what their problem is, this is what you need to go and do. But within even those short scenes, totally is this sense of a much wider world and references to, here, the Diablos. So suddenly we've got another gang to contend with. We were aware of the Colombian cartel. We got the Diablos. Clearly, Luigi is fronting the mafia. So that sense of a world kind of outside with relationships that, have nothing to do with you continues to grow for sure. Yeah, I got a lot of like taxi driver vibes from Ammunition. Pistol feels very Godfather, tucked behind the toilet. So yeah, we're coming home with all of the
we
wanton violence.
you feel like Michael, dude.
A little bit. I feel like a silent Michael, going to do the bidding of my higher ups. It was also
I
in
mean, like, not to get too far out, but I get the sense it's our boy Claude, which he will be soon named, or
right,
not soon named,
right.
but
2 years from now, he'll be named Claude.
he's a criminal. We see him robbing a bank. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so this is probably not the first time he's held a gun, but for you as the player in the story, this is. So what a thrilling moment. And I will say, in terms of game design, took me a while to realize, not a while, but too long to realize this was a roaming target. I had previously been used to going to a set location to do
Right.
something, pick up Misty, go get the baseball bat and beat those dudes up and take their car. Now all of a sudden I'm dealing with a moving target,
That's true.
which
These
was
gang members you're going after are riding around in a flaming red convertible. And yeah, so we're starting to marry different mechanics from the game. And this is very video gamey. For everything that Grand Theft Auto is doing to kind of blow up the concept of video games in 2001. The idea that with each new mission, you are incrementally adding. First, you're just driving, and then you are driving and beating someone with a baseball bat, and then you're driving with a timer. We're adding
yeah,
to
yeah,
that list. So, like you said, this is the tutorial. We are learning these things. So you grab the piece from ammunition, from behind ammunition. You find this moving target, again, flame decal convertible, and it's kind of up to you what you
pretty
do.
sick looking car for the world that we're in right now. Definitely
Honestly,
stands out.
the nicest looking car that I have seen thus far. And I thought to myself, I want that. And when I kill these guys, I'm going to take it. And I'm like, the Grand Theft Auto is fundamentally a game about wanting things and taking them.
That's America, baby.
That's America. Give me liberty. All right. So how did you dispatch with these guys? And they're well,
Dude,
actually, theoretically, one of them is a pimp.
I got smoked by these dudes the first time I encountered them.
Wait, you died?
Uh, oh, of course, dude. You have a pistol and you start shooting at them, and then they jump out, and one of them has a shotgun, the other one has
Yeah.
an automatic, and I
Yes.
just got shredded, dude. Some of that was game mechanics. I'm not that much of a noob, bro.
I
But
know.
yeah, I wasn't ready for them to have that level of firepower,
No,
dude.
I'm not
So
I'm not going to leave you hanging here. The difficulty has ramped up. We have introduced an entirely new concept, and they are not meeting you with a pistol. They are meeting you, like you said, with a shotgun and an Uzi. So it was by the grace of God that I survived. I got down to one uh health icon and made my way out, but I was fully prepared to die. So you wound up at the hospital where we picked up Misty last week. What happens, Tim, when you respawn at the hospital?
yeah, I had to replay the mission. So then I went back and I went back to the circle. I went back to Luigi. I went back and got the gun, and then here I went. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
time I was ready. I had them. I basically T-boned them or caught them in a place where I could use kind of a car for cover.
Hmm.
They popped out, and you know, I lit their ass up, and I took their fucking car, dude.
There you go. See, you
Which
Tom
was
Cruise.
extremely satisfying, bro.
I'm sure it was. You Tom Cruise live, died, repeated. You learn from your mistakes the first go around,
I
and
thought
then
you were gonna say Tom Cruise collateraled them, dude.
you also collect. You Tom Cruise many thing them, but yeah, good. And then for all of our troubles, we finished this mission. We were granted $4,000, which is pretty sizable as far as the rewards go at this point. And more importantly, you can now buy guns at ammunition.
Yeah, we get the message on the pager,
That's
which
true.
felt
2001 technology.
then and now it still feels very criminal focused.
The
You know,
pager,
yeah, I feel like they reference pagers in The Wire and stuff like that.
right?
Like it's a known criminal. It's like the pagers are exclusively for criminals and doctors.
Yeah, it did feel to me, like the domain of drug dealers.
Yeah, I also want to stress that this giving and taking. This is definitely a moment where you see the car, you want it, and you get the car, which is very satisfying. The other thing that I think comes up in these GTA games, and I don't want to go too far ahead, but like sometimes it is the small violence that sometimes keeps me honest and disturbs me a little bit.
Okay.
Like when you're in the driving tanks around, blowing everything up, or like just general chaos mode of these games, we'll call that free roam. It's not as like violent and intense. It's still violent, but it's more cartoony. There's
Right.
something very raw about just hopping out of the car, smoking two dudes, and then taking their car and driving away.
Yeah, this is
It's a singular focused violent act. You know what I
yes.
mean?
Yeah, this is ground level street violence. And not for nothing, you're taking your orders from Luigi. And as a silent protagonist, you're not questioning any of that. We have our own motivations as players. It's like, whether I'm playing at 15 or 39, I want to just do cool shit. But thinking like our unnamed protagonist, I guess he just wants money. He wants to, move his way up. But there is a certain kind of like BioShock-esque quality to the idea that like you are just doing as you're told. You are not questioning anything. You are a soldier operating in service of
I mean,
these
this dude
larger
doesn't even
forces.
talk.
No, he's offering no rebuttal whatsoever, which is also true of BioShock, but neither here nor there. So I took the car as well, which it should be noted is probably one of the faster cars at this point in the game. And I decided that I was going to do my first insane jump. They had a ramp very conveniently set up near an elevated railroad track. Hopped that, got another $5,000. So at this point, I
Yeah,
think
that's good game design. You know what I mean? The other
it's
thing to
great game
say is
design.
that this is the first mission in the game where like you're killing other people. You don't win the game unless you don't win the mission unless you kill these dudes.
That's
In the
that's
last
correct.
mission, when
You
you're
get
just
the
driving
option.
Misty around, yeah, and when you get the baseball bat, you have
Right.
the option.
Yes.
And here you have the force of violence, dude, which is in some ways, I know I sound like a some type of Puritan, but sometimes it's the simple missions. There's a mission in GTA 4, which we could talk about when we get there, but like this one is just like very direct and to the point. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
also something that you see a lot in gangster movies, the classic tighten somebody up in the car when they're waiting.
Totally.
So
No,
yeah,
you could
pretty
absolutely
satisfying. Good
you
good
could
thrill.
you could look at this as a point of no return. We'll bookmark that GTA 4 thought and come back to it in like 3 years.
Huh.
All right, so let's move on to mission the second today, which is called the Fuzz Ball, another Luigi mission. It's meaningful at this point that we have opened up the game map. Theoretically, we could go to Joey, who has some missions available for us. So alongside understanding that ammunition is there are all these gangs. We now, are aware intrinsically that there will be missions for other people throughout the game. But we're going to stick with Luigi, finish it up. Tim, tell us what this mission's about.
I want to go back to the mission for a second because I was thinking
Okay.
about something. Do those gangsters, the Diablos, like, are they speaking English?
It's heavily implied that the Diablos are a Mexican criminal organization. I was not clocking whether they were speaking Spanish or English.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if it's bad that like the first people you kill are some non-whites.
I mean, it's
Um,
it's definitely bad. We'll unpack that as we go. We'll have plenty to talk about vis-a-vis Rockstar's relationship to marginalized groups. So,
okay.
yeah, let's tell me about the fuzzball.
I mean, we were talking about we could go from the marginalized groups implicit or direct racism and go right back into the casual sexism
Yes,
that
good.
that the cops need hookers for their party.
That's called a tight
Um,
transition.
yeah, bro. So this was a mission that actually surprised me. After you know getting the liberty of cold steel of ammunition, and I was ready to rock. And then all of a
Uh-huh.
sudden, I'm
You're back
back
to
to show,
driving.
back to driving. Not only back to driving, but driving women around for more illicit purposes.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, this was kind of a wild mission. You know, there was a mission in the past with the timer
Right.
where you had to get the car, and now there was a timer with multiple waypoints on the map where you had to pick them up and get them to the destination.
Yes. Where are
Um,
we taking these ladies of the night?
we're taking them to the policeman's ball. Is it
Okay.
at the police station? I think
Uh,
it is.
I think it's considered the sort of like community center.
Yeah, well, there's a police car out front.
Yeah.
So for this mission, like it was a wild context that you will make tons of money. The more hookers you bring, the more money you make to these cops, in the sense that these cops, who are part of the social fabric of this city,
Right.
are actually part of the criminal financial ecosystem, we'll say.
Sure. They're not afraid to
Uh,
taste a little danger.
yeah, but they're also it's all one big stew, dude, and they're all in it, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's the first time that you get basically it's very clear that the cops are just as scuzzy as the Diablos you just tightened up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I think that's a good point. I have my own out of game opinions about the American police system, but within it, yes, it is strongly implied that they are just as corrupt as the criminals, which of course is a, time worn trope in the gangster genre.
Yeah, it made me think about. I feel like there was there's a whole rich history of corrupt cops. Going
Right.
back, of course, to The Godfather. Um, but it just made me think a little bit about like Serpico, which is
Hmm.
like a classic corrupt cop movie, Copland. Obviously those films are much more nuanced than just dropping hookers off at a policeman's ball.
Right.
But in terms of statement making missions, I would say this is pretty funny. Like this was probably like one of the more tongue in cheek reference of missions about we're all in it, as I said. And otherwise, I thought in terms of gameplay, I I was I wish I could pack them all into one car. Could you?
Right. Well, so that is the mechanic of this mission, right? You have a minimum of four hookers you need to pick up and drop off at the policeman's ball. There are eight green dots around the
I
map.
was still pushing the Diablo at this point, bro.
Okay, and the Diablo has how many seats in it?
We're gonna get flagged here. I was picking them up one at a time. I'll say that. I
Okay.
I, I didn't know I could pick up. Could you pick up more than one?
Yeah, so I stopped and I thought about this for a second. I paused the game, which is not
You did
something
some math, dude. The
I did.
whiteboard came out.
No, whiteboard didn't come out. I don't have a whiteboard I'm using, but I did think for a second, I'm like, okay, I've driven some cars that are clearly two-seaters, convertibles, which I think the Diablo might be. And then I was like, you know what? I've also seen some sedans. I've definitely driven in those. With me, I can probably fit three hookers. That seems like the max at this moment. So instead of doing pick up, drop off. I'm like, I'm gonna get three ladies in this car, and then I'll get a couple more. And I really felt not like I was winning the mission, but there was a level of satisfaction to having, thought about it in some way. I did learn after the fact, via the Grand Theft Auto wiki. There is, in fact, one vehicle in the game that can fit all eight at once. It is literally a charter bus called the Coach, which would certainly be one way to inconspicuously roll up to a policeman's ball.
That's wild. Yeah, Diablo, which what I was pushing, of course. How could you not two-seater?
Hmm.
So that explains why I wasn't packing them boxed, dude. Why I
Sure.
wasn't packing them all in. Um,
I mean, quite honestly, you were delivering much more comfortable rides to these ladies. I tried to get four in at one point, and the game told me you can't do that. Like, you got to maintain some level of comfort, which I appreciated on the part of the game taking that into account.
I mean, this is the first time where I felt like I had a knowledge of the map.
Okay.
Doing the repeat trips is a little piece of game design, so you
Yeah.
can be a bit more of a risque driver, I would say. So I was like driving through alleys and stuff like that, and getting back to the destination. The
No, and there's tremendous.
repeating the route, I would
I,
say.
I think there's tremendous satisfaction in that realization that, like, oh shit, like without having studied this, I know this. I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And it really brings the city to life, in a way that, like you said, is not drawing attention to itself. So
So far in this game, we've had a woman shoot us in the face and betray us in the first
correct.
5 seconds of the
Yep.
game.
Yep.
And then we've met Misty, who we drive around, we pick up at a clinic,
Hmm.
and then
Also the hospital.
yes, and then we now just drive women around as sexual property. So is that the extent of the sexual politics, gender politics of GTA right
Yeah,
now?
no, I think six missions in that about sums it up for GTA's relationship to women. This mission is basically the sequel to Drive Misty for Me, where it's like if you thought driving one hooker from point A to point B was wild, wait until you're driving four of them. So
Yeah.
so were you able to accomplish the mission in the time limit? Did you get four ladies?
No, I think I got three or four. I got the bare minimum.
Okay. All right.
Do you get more money the more girls you bring?
Yeah, so I learned this after the fact. I'm trying as hard as I can to approach this cold and not rely on, gamefacts.com or even the GTA wiki. I look at it afterwards, but theoretically, you can make up to an additional $2,000 if you are able to get all eight women to the policeman's ball.
How much can you make?
You can make a total of $4,000. So base reward, dropping off four of them is 2,500 per each additional lady.
Just the cold economics of
Yeah.
the human experience
Yes.
in Liberty City, bro.
In 2001, a woman's life is worth $500. That's
Post
it.
9/11 too.
That's post 9/11. So you can only imagine what it was like pre 9/11.
Oh my god, dude.
I was
Yeah,
able I was able to get six, and I was pushing, like, I started for seven. I'm like, this is probably not going to happen, but I was really hoping I could make it work.
I wish there was more to say about this mission, but it definitely felt pretty simple. In some ways, I was waiting for it to kick off, but it just kind of I got my rewards, got my green dots,
Yeah,
and that
and
was
that's
it.
that. Listen, that's. I feel like GTA in a larger sense, and it's kind of unclear right now what the larger story is. But even now, I think you can surmise, like, you've got some bigger missions and some smaller missions, and I think one thing the GTA franchise has always been good at is offering a wide variety where, you're never stuck in one mode for too long. So it stands to reason, we'll jump out of this. What was your go-to radio station on this driving mission, if you can remember?
Great question. On this one, I hit the reggae station.
Okay, Kja.
Yes, it's hard not to always do the classic rock one. That one is very fun.
Uh-huh.
But I did switch up the radio station for the next mission.
Okay.
So yeah, if I
I
had a
was
radio station rank right now, I always go with Flashback for sure.
Yeah, with the Scarface soundtrack.
Yep. And then after that, I go to the hip hop one, and then it's a grab bag after that.
Every once in a while, when I want to feel classy, and I did during this mission, I listened to the classical radio station Double Clef, which all the mafioso listened to. So I felt like that was really elevating this driving experience for me.
Oh, that's classy. That's nice, dude.
Yeah,
You're
it
so
was,
sophisticated when you're
you
pimping out
know,
these girls, these
it's
poor women, dude.
it's highbrow, lowbrow, which I like to think is a good sort of North Star for this podcast in general.
um, yeah. So the next mission I did was this Mike Slip's last lunch.
Right.
Gotta
Mike Lip's
say,
last lunch.
great names here for
Hmm.
all these. I don't know what the fuzz ball is in reference to. I guess it's like the fuzz, as in the police, and then it's their
And they're
ball.
the
But
ball. Yeah.
Mike Lip's last lunch, great alliteration there. And now we're doing a mission for Joey.
Right.
This was the guy. This is the guy at the garage, right?
Yeah, we had dropped off Misty to have some fun with him. It's implied at this point that Luigi's missions are done with. It's unclear if we're going to go back there, but there is a shining J on the map, which importantly is only accessible between 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. And that's the first instance in this game of sort of like time limited windows.
Oh, okay.
He's a mechanic. It seems frankly crazy to me that, he's working from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., but everybody in Liberty City maintains their own schedule. So you show up there. He tells you that the Forelli brothers owe him some money. He's tired of waiting, and that you need to go to a place called Marco's Bistro, steal this guy's car, one of the Forelli brothers, wire that car with a bomb, courtesy of our old buddy 8 Ball, voiced by rapper Keith Elam, repark the car, arm the bomb, blow the guy away. So I would say this is the most involved mission of the game so far.
Yeah, for sure. I was into this mission. I will say I did a little homework since we last talked.
Okay.
And 8 Ball, Keith Elam is a rapper from a group called Gangstar, which I always enjoyed. And he's from Boston. His rapper name was Guru.
Okay.
So he's a pretty well known rapper, I would say. Gangstar is amazing, and their classic songs are like "Work," My Steez, lots of good stuff.
I got to listen to them. I mean, it's another example of Rockstar really getting some, like, inside baseball people and bringing this game to life with some credibility.
Yeah, and not, we should mention too that 8 Ball so far is the only character that I feel a connection to because he took me out of that truck, bro.
Yeah.
Like I don't give a shit about Joey or Luigi. These people are just they're the boss. You know what I mean?
Well, then they
Eight
only
Ball,
exist in cutscenes. We've seen 8 Ball as a character model in the world.
yeah. And this one is also a pretty sick world building because it's implied that there's a place that you can just go to turn any car into a bomb.
Right. I had
Further
totally
adding to the criminal danger of this.
absolutely. So you go to 8 Ball's place. I had totally forgotten about that. I remembered the mechanic, but it was interesting because you have that, telltale uh blue circle with the eye in the middle for information. And yeah, it says for $1,000 you can rig any car with a bomb, heavily implying that like that was going to be a big mechanic of the game. I don't remember that from future installments as like a main thing. So it's
What,
kind of
putting bombs in cars?
well, I mean, certainly that exists within missions, but like as a sort of regular feature that you could turn to.
That was a feature in the top down GTAs.
Interesting. Okay. So then this is a
So that,
continuation of that.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Do you see Misty again at the garage?
Yeah, no, she's there for the cutscene. She says, "Hey, I'm bored. When are you gonna drill me?" And I'm like, "All right, who hasn't been there, right?"
She's around, dude.
She's
At
around.
this
She's
point,
not.
she's the biggest female character we've seen in this game.
Yes, and her primary function is being Joey's girlfriend. But yeah,
Um,
we show up at 8 Balls. I was struck by like I was like, yeah, I'm just as excited as you to reconnect with my guy 8 Ball. But I was thinking to myself, like, okay, the two of us have recently escaped from prison out of the back of a prison convoy. Somehow he is able to get his business off the ground, back off the ground very quickly, and using the same name he presumably had before going to jail. So I wanted to understand that backstory a little more.
I mean, doesn't he make you in the very beginning? He can't drive.
Yeah, his
He
hands are
asked you to
messed
drive.
up. His hands are messed up. I'm like, did he mess up his hands making bombs? How good is this guy at making bombs? Did that happen in prison? I don't know.
I love that. Yeah, that's like in. You ever see the Steven Spielberg classic underrated movie Munich?
I have actually never seen Munich. I
Oh
assume there are
my
bomb
god,
makers. I got
bro!
to see it. Who's the
There are
bomb
bomb
maker?
there are bomb makers in that movie.
Yeah.
Um, there's a famous like revolutionary or some dude like that who blew himself up making bombs, which is like just now we're really getting into the FBI agent talk about bomb making and stuff. By the way, as I'm recording this in the suburban Boston night, there is a helicopter circling somewhere around here, which is giving quite some good ambiance.
Yeah, that you're at least at a level 5 star right now, right? With a helicopter circling.
Yeah. Okay, back to this mission. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was into this, dude. So you get the bomb equipped, then you
Yeah.
got to go to this restaurant and park, and then you got to like get out of there. Like,
Yes.
and you get to see Mike Lips like walk down from this restaurant, which looks kind of nice. It's elevated. It's like on a little mini
Yeah,
hill,
it's a
and
swanky Italian bistro. He is having a late lunch. And what I really liked about this, and it's tough grading a 25-year-old game according to sort of, you know, principles that would go on to exist in these games, or things that like a 2025 game can do that a 2001 game can't. Um, the systems are not as intricate. So like when I went back, you've got the blue circle, right, that you're supposed to park in. I'm not reparking the car exactly as it showed up, and I'm pretty sure I left the headlights on. If I'm Mike Lips and I'm walking down, I'm like, someone took my car. They probably put a bomb in it, but he doesn't think about it for a second.
yeah. Well, maybe he's just coming off the good food, dude, at Marcos.
Yes, it's a testament to the quality of the food there.
And then he gets in, or you have to run away. He gets in, and then you get to do another wonderful act of carnage, dude.
Hmm.
So
Nice,
you're really
nice.
starting to rack him up now.
Yeah, no, to the tune of $10,000. So this is the far and away the most lucrative mission that you have undertaken, that we have undertaken to this point. And honestly, at this point, I feel flush with cash. Like, what have we actually spent this money on?
There's not a lot you can spend money on. I mean, you can get a pistol and ammo and ammunition. Maybe you can get an Uzi if you still have the shotgun and from the Um, who are those guys? I was going to say the Diablos,
Uh-huh. Yeah. But it's like,
but yeah, there's
am I going to spend $10,000 on pistol ammunition?
I liked I thought it was cool blowing this guy up. You know what I mean?
It was set.
We're you're sticking with more Godfather references.
Yes.
Now, well, I always think about when Apollina gets blown up in the car.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. In the old country.
and there is something around just like the working man ship of this whole thing, where someone's got to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And
when you think about mafia and gangsters and criminals, you don't always think about like the dude that has to do the grunt work behind the thing, unless it's like smoking somebody. But for this, like somebody has to make the bomb, get the bomb into position, arm the bomb. You don't see that as much in the gangster movies. So I kind of like being the guy.
no, I mean, we are that guy that the Dons and the captains and the capos, they're keeping their hands clean as we do all of their dirty work.
And once again, we kill someone we have like no connection to. Like
No,
just like the dudes in the Diablo, they had to go because someone said they had to go. Mike Lips had to go because our boy Joey,
yeah, wasn't
one
getting
of
his money on
them,
time.
and that's it. That's the weight of violence in this game.
Sure, a weight of violence that is directed at other people, probably on our socioeconomic level, maybe slightly higher, but we are doing the bidding of people.
Claude the class warfare hero,
Claude the
bro.
class. Well, I mean, if we turned our back on these orders, we'd be a class hero. Right now, we are just doing the bidding of our higher ups. But infighting amongst the rabble as everybody else gets to watch from their towers.
Blowing shit up is cool.
Blowing shit up
Fact,
is one of the fundamental
facts, dude.
appeals of this game. And now we get to do it. So, all right, we now have the ability to buy pistols. We could take any car in there. You could take that Diablo Roadster, go into 8 Ball's bomb shop, arm that, and set it off in front of the policeman's ball.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you could do whatever you want. Um, I was struck also by like the relative aliveness of Liberty City this go around. Again, it's very different, what they were able to do in 2001 versus 12 years later in GTA 5. But in its own sort of like homespun way, watching the NPCs walk around. There's like no shortage of dialogue on the street. Even watching cars, navigate traffic. And in some cases, like cars will get into accidents that has nothing to do with you. And I find something very jankily alive in all of it.
No, I agree. We talked about that a little bit last week where
Yeah.
there's like a by playing something so old, the art style is more like the art style and the uniqueness for the time of the design kind of shines through. And I think partially is because like when you're playing the other GTAs, the more modern GTAs, it starts to feel like more real. You have a sense of place.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like a real place at all to me. This feels like a cool art designed video game with people and blocky looking cars.
Right.
It's like you're in like a throwback movie, almost like you're in like an animated cartoon. Where I don't feel that when I play, GTA 5. I feel like I'm in like an live action movie.
Totally. No, the limitations of the era made it an abstraction of a place as opposed to the place itself, where, by the time you get to GTA 5, especially, the fidelity is through the roof to the point that I wind up almost feeling more uncomfortable because it's not that far off from places that I've driven around Los Angeles. I can't imagine how you know, insane the graphics on GTA 6 are going to be, to the point that I'm like, I don't
So
think I
this
should
is
do.
being recorded in September of 2025. So
That's
we've
correct.
only seen two GTA 6 trailers, lots of jiggle physics, lots of
Yes.
beer
Right.
in Jason's six pack walking out of the store. So nothing
Astonishing.
confirmed.
No,
Theories
nothing,
only.
only theories, but astonishing jiggle physics, the likes of which Mike Lips and co. could not even fathom in 2001. So
What do you
they
think? What kind of food do you think Mike Lip's eating? And was he at brunch?
I don't know. I mean, like,
Is he
Italian
getting some
dude,
brunch with the bros, dude?
do mafia guys brunch? I feel like it was an early dinner or a late lunch. There were definitely plates of ziti. Um, I think that he just had a heaping plate of ziti, and that was the last thing that he ate. He was ready to explode himself on the toilet before he himself was exploded by 8 Ball's bomb. That's my sense.
So this is an interesting question. We're talking about gangsters, we're talking about New York gangsters. What's the conversation of this show with the Sopranos? And is that something we should be tracking? Like the Sopranos came out in 1999.
Correct.
Um, Obviously huge for gangsters. Here we are referencing The Godfather. We probably should be referencing something a little more current. Like to me, the concept of Mike Lips like getting sneaking a mimosa or something feels very Sopranos, like dark, but still kind of funny. I don't think he was getting mimosas, although Tony did love orange juice. But I could. This feels like he was probably getting some type of extra lunch. That's why he's a fat gangster. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. And that's why he's waddling down the stairs. It takes him
Second
about,
breakfasts, dude.
yeah, just like the Hobbits. It took him like 10 seconds to get down the stairs. I think undeniably The Sopranos is a part of the sort of cultural fabric of these games, but I feel more than that, the game is indebted to Goodfellas. Goodfellas feels like the model for all of the mafia shit in this
Yeah, I
game.
mean they have the poster on the
Bad
wall outside the
fellas.
club.
Right.
Yeah,
Um, I guess the reason I hesitate to give them not give them credit, but to think that The Sopranos is a huge part of this is because to me, and again, it's impossible to talk about these games without getting ahead of ourselves. But to me, The Sopranos works its way into Michael's story in GTA 5 more than anything else.
yeah, true, valid.
But it's all good.
I
These games are soaking up culture. These games are cultural sponges.
what was the culture when this game came out? Would you say what was the prevailing gangster culture of 2001?
I mean, I still think it was Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas, the shadow that cast was such that, like, of course, this game was going to use that, reference that. Not that Sopranos is even that far from Goodfellas, but I think Goodfellas has an almost cartoon-like sensibility that I really see modeled in this game.
I think that I'm 100% agree. I just did a quick Google search of crime films of 2001.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I should have crime films from 2000. And yeah, this seems exactly in line with you know what we would imagine gangsters in the mafia would look like.
Yeah,
I'm into
no.
this. I'm into this. I feel like this game world is like slowly opening up, and as it does that, my own morals are fading away.
Okay.
Just one week ago, I was bloodthirsty, waiting to get my piece, and now my arsenal. I got a bat. I got my good old fists. I got a pistol. I got a shotgun. I got a Uzi, and
You're
now I have
losing
the
yourself to the
ability to
darkness.
to blow up cars, just as the Hauser brothers and all the good folks at Rockstars attended. I'm excited to see what firepower lies in my future,
No,
and
you are playing
what
in
type of
their
moral
sandbox.
rot is going to continue.
I can only imagine. I know that we're not going to talk too much about side missions, but after I got through these three, I stumbled on this unmarked van somewhere in the Portland area, which triggered an RC car mission where I had to drive it. I had to kill as many Diablo gang members as possible, detonating this bomb-laden RC car. I got up to 7. I earned $5,000. I was very proud of myself.
You can drive underneath cars with the RC car.
No, I don't think that the physics are as involved as that. You basically just get as close to them as possible and then hit, left on the D-pad, blow it up, lather, rinse, repeat. So the world is full of surprises.
That's also a reference to Top Down GTA. You do more side missions here, but for the sake of our show, I don't know if side missions are included unless
We'll
they have
figure.
story meat to them.
Sure. If they reflect on the beautiful tapestry of story that we're building, then I think that they're worth talking about. But there is no shortage of missions to discuss. So we'll catch you guys
The,
again
the,
next
other, the
week.
other thing too to note is that this is the first mission with Italian on Italian crime or mafia on
Great
mafia
point.
crime.
Yeah, we're doing some infighting, and who knows exactly where that's going to lead.
Exactly, dude.
All
All
right,
right,
we'll leave you with
I'm
that
into it, dude.
tantalizing.
I'm excited to see if there is a gang war within, dude.
All kinds of shit could be brewing, and we are silently fomenting it from the shadows.
All right, let's let it rip, dude. I'll see you next week, bro.
All right, later.